Hi there, I am Karen O'Connor of SingWise.com, and today I'm going to be talking about something that is often forgotten about or brushed over in the voice studio: posture. I prefer to use the term body alignment because the word posture often conjures up this image of a stiff pose, even though body alignment or posture is dynamic. The first reason why we might rush through discussions on posture is, well, it's not the most interesting thing to talk about during a singing lesson. Most of us just want to give a quick and easy directive such as stand up straight or watch your posture or even put this part here and hold that part like that, and then move on to vocalizing. The second reason is we don't realize that for singers with habitually poor posture throughout the day, it's not as easy or as straightforward as telling them to stand up straight. We live in an age in which most people have very poor posture from years of physical inactivity, sitting at desks, being hunched over computers all day long, and sitting in car seats and on cushy furniture that don't properly support and align our backs. Although our bodies do often retaliate in the form of chronic aches and pains, they also come to recognize a given way of holding themselves as being correct, and therefore no longer have the neural pathways or muscle memory for correct alignment that they once had when they were very young children. If we have bad posture, it's because our brains are not sending the right signals to our body, the signals that indicate what is correct. And over time, correct alignment will come to feel wrong. So when we tell someone to stand up straight, they often end up standing in a posture that's equally wrong, such as a stiff military pose. We need to retrain our bodies by developing new neural pathways, the neural pathways for optimal alignment. Now, I love to use the Alexander Technique semi-supine or constructive rest exercise for helping the body find the right alignment without the use of compensatory muscle activation and with the help of gravity and the floor. In this exercise, we lie down with our knees bent up to the ceiling and put our heads on some soft-covered magazines or books so that they're properly aligned with the rest of the spine. We'll know that our heads are in the right position or at the right height when the airway feels very clear and open. We do this for 15 or 20 minutes in the middle of the day or whenever we return home from our day's activities. This position broadens the back and ribs. It places the ribs and sternum in optimal postures, and it rejuvenates our spinal discs. While lying down, we focus on the breath and we pay special attention to where we feel the pressures of our bodies on the floor, taking note of any imbalances. We can vocalize from this position as well. It's not ideal for intense singing tasks because the viscera, the contents of the abdominal cavity, will be pushing up against the diaphragm a bit, but it can give us an idea of how things are supposed to feel when we're properly aligned and everything is in balance. We can later transfer this alignment to a standing posture. And the third reason why we often ignore posture or brush over it is we don't realize just how important correct body alignment is, not just for our singing, but to our overall health. When the body is incorrectly aligned, this negatively affects the nerve signals that the brain transmits to the muscles, and it puts all the parts in positions of mechanical disadvantage, so they can't function optimally. Think about the larynx, a very important part of our instruments. If the cervical spine is misaligned, this may inhibit the nerve impulses that pass through the cervical vertebrae to the laryngeal muscles. This means that the laryngeal muscles may not be able to comply with our wishes. Additionally, the larynx will not be suspended and operating from an optimal position. On top of all that, the shapes of our resonator tracts are changed when our heads are not stacked properly atop our necks, and the articulators are also going to be misaligned, which can affect diction and lead to tongue and jaw tensions. Poor alignment also inhibits our ability to draw in air efficiently, which means that the tissues and organs of the body are not being supplied with optimal levels of oxygen to function as they're designed to, and our singing voice is not going to be supported as effectively. The lower ribs won't be as free to expand, and the diaphragm then won't be free to descend. Slump or slouch for a moment. Do you see how the lower ribs dig into the abdomen? This means that the diaphragm's movements will also be limited and your breath won't be as full or efficient. And chronically poor posture can have a negative long-term impact on our health because the vital organs are not receiving what they need. So that's why posture is more than just a pose. that we assume for singing or for looking better. It needs to be a part of our lifestyle. Now, when we're standing, we want to make ourselves tall and poised. We can imagine that there's a hook attached to the tops of our skulls and a rope attached to that hook, and we're being pulled up by that rope. Now this will give us a feeling of being tall and buoyant, and our legs will almost feel as though they're dangling freely from our hips. The head will be stacked atop the torso, which will be stacked atop rather than behind or in front of the pelvis and hips. This sets the foundation for a gentle S-curve of the spine. The ears will be roughly aligned over the shoulders, which will be pointing out to the sides rather than rounded and forward or pulled back. This puts us in a position of optimal mechanical advantage in which the postural muscles are doing their jobs effectively, while the movement muscles are then freed up to do their jobs, and neither muscle group is being stressed. And now your body is primed and ready for singing. Now this is great for situations in which we're standing. Standing is ideal for supporting our singing tones. But there will be many occasions on which we're singing from a seated position. We'll sit on a stool to create an intimate acoustic feel. We'll sit to play an instrument or at choir practice. When we're sitting, there's a slight posterior tilting of the pelvis. If you imagine the pelvis as a basin filled with water, a posterior tilt tips that basin backwards so that the water spills out behind us, while an anterior tilt tips the basin forward so that the water spills out in front of us. When we sit, this posterior tilt causes the front part of our torso to shorten, while the back is lengthened and the lumbar curve flattened. When we're sitting, we still want to ensure that we're tall, not hunched, so that our head, neck, and torso are aligned and the ribs are freed to open up and the diaphragm is free to descend. We also want to be balanced on the sitting bones of the pelvis, the ischial tuberosities. If you rock slowly back and forth on a hard bottom chair, you'll feel them. You don't want to be perched by placing your weight in front of them or slouching, which involves placing your weight behind them. If possible, sit on the front edge of the chair or piano bench. This will help you open up the front part of the torso more because it will increase the angle between the legs and the torso, especially if you're on the vertically challenged side. Find a chair height that is suitable to your body. You might also like to try sitting on a seat wedge that will get you in this position. Now, I've already said this, but posture is not a pose. It's dynamic. We don't stand perfectly still on stage or throughout the day for that matter. We move, which means that we are continually moving our bodies in and out of states of optimal alignment and balance, equilibrium. My view is that we should use our optimal alignment as a home base position. Much like the home row on a computer's keyboard, the fingers move to different letters and numbers, different positions, but they always return home between movements. When we frequently return home with our bodies, this will ensure that we aren't placing them in positions of mechanical disadvantage or imbalance for long periods of time, which can place strain on our muscles. So yes, move around on stage as much as you like, but always return home as often as you can. If you have really bad posture, don't expect it to suddenly be good. It takes time to reprogram our bodies to acknowledge these signals for correct posture and to consistently assume good alignment and balance. It has to be something that we work on and are conscious of throughout the day, not just when we're preparing to sing. And I think this just about covers posture for singing as briefly as I know how to. Please let me know if you have any questions for me and I'll be happy to try to answer them. If you found this helpful and informative, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.